everybody. Welcome back to the How to Podcast series, where we bring on amazing podcasters from around the world. And I have to emphasize that today because Mitch is with me, and Mitch is an amazing podcaster. I'm loving his show, the Amazing Authorities podcast, and it's so good, well produced, great guests, great interviewer. So there's a lot you can learn just from hanging out with Mitch today. And he's joining me far from where I am here in Canada. We'll get to that in a second. But Mitch, welcome to the show as my guest co-host. So glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Dave. I'm excited. And I learned that the Niagara Falls is just a hill with water.
It's shocking, right?
Oh, my God.
It is so shocking. Right?
I haven't seen it in person. Yeah.
No, yeah, there you go. No, it's amazing. I live near there, and I get to take people around and show them the stuff that you don't see on the regular tour. But it's an amazing place. But you're in an amazing place I've never been, Mitch. Tell me where you are. Where are you joining me from?
I'm in Jom Tien Beach, Thailand, which is about 2 hours outside of Bangkok.
Wow. Amazing. How long have you been there?
I've lived in Thailand about 9 years. Okay. And in this particular area, about 5 months.
And you've also lived in the U.S. for a long time as well.
I'm an American. That's why I have this accent. I can't shake it. Yeah, I'm from L.A. originally, and spent 4 years in Vegas, and then after that, overseas. I've lived in 7 countries. This is my swan song.
There you go.
I love Thailand the best.
I was reading through your profile over on Podmatch, and that's how we're connecting. An extensive background for you, Mitch. Like, you've done a lot in the past. Can you give us like a high view, kind of some of the things you've done in the past?
Yeah, in the media landscape, and I've started 3 companies, sold all 3. 1 in a private transaction, 2 I sold to publicly traded entities that bought the companies. And then I launched full-time after 2008 to travel the world as a professional speaker and event producer. I produced events in 19 countries, spoken in 63 countries, was a pitchman on a channel called Home Shopping Network in the 90s.
Oh, yes.
Where I would sell products on live TV to an audience of about 5 million people. It varied based on the time of day, but it was very big. It's suffered because of Amazon. Yeah. Amazon is a major market disruptor, and certainly has affected that. And that was part of my background. And I'm a TV show host on NBC Channel 3. I air shows there where I interview people who are amazing authorities in their field. And it airs on NBC3. That's a half-hour show, and I today work largely as a book publicist, helping authors gain publicity and help ensure I guarantee bestseller status by getting them on enough television shows and notoriety to where people want to buy their books.
Wow, it's amazing. There's one author I had on my author podcast, and when we were talking, I'm thinking, man, you'd be a great podcaster. And I kind of put that through a lot of lenses with people. But we sat and talked after our interview, and I just encouraged her because of her message and what she has done. And she's like, okay, I'll take a shot. And a few episodes in, she got a message. And it's like, hey, we heard your podcast. We'd love to know if you're interested in coming on our TV show. And she's like, looking at scrolling down to the bottom, who's this from? It's from her team from Kelly Clarkson's show. And they did a little blurb about her at the end of the episode, talking about her, brought her on the show virtually, talked about her book and everything, all because of her podcast. And the fact that she put herself out there and chased that and did that, but just the value of what she was talking about and the exposure of being on that show just helped her so much. So I'm glad that you do that for authors, because I know authors have such a hard time marketing their books and getting their voice out there. They get all this help all the way through the process, get to the marketing part. They're like, where do I go, right? Where do I go?
They fall down and very few books are sold. If, friends and family, will get about 200 books sold, and then they'll sit there.
Yeah.
And it's a process. It is a process. You have to get out there and publicize and work at it. You got to get reviews. You got to get badges. You have to have a bestseller badge. Right. You have to consistently birthing a book. When you write your book, you've birthed it, and then you got to feed it.
Yeah.
You got to feed it. You got to change its diaper. And if you don't, you're going to have a very unhappy baby, one that doesn't grow. You got to feed the baby. Feeding that book is through marketing, doing podcast tours, doing all these guest appearances, doing TV interviews, radio interviews, being written up in publications, online, offline. It's a process.
Right.
You can't just birth the book and think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be discovered. That's a pipe dream.
Do you have an ideal author that you like to work with?
Nonfiction.
Okay.
Nonfiction authors are typically where I work. I have worked with some fiction, but I work mostly with authors who, one is about sales and bestseller status. That part is formulaic for me, but a book for nonfiction is a vehicle to make money. It's a business card, and then many things can span out from the core of a book.
Yeah.
You can then start a podcast. You can recreate more books in a series. You can have an audio book. You can start seminars based on your book. You can sell coaching based on your book. There are so many extensions of writing a book. The same is true for a podcast. You just flip it out, put it in the hub, and a podcast can be the hub. And think about all the episodes you've had, hundreds of episodes, depending on the podcast.
Right.
Each of those could be a unique book.
Right.
Based on that pipeline. And, whatever that silo of guests that you've had. Let's say if you had 20 guests, that's one book, and then it goes into a series of books just on your podcast. You could be a best-selling author overnight, Dave.
Right.
Simply using all the resources you've had. And very few will say no. If you charge them $1,000 because you got to have the layout and time and put in this, hey, I've got 20 contributors, you've got 20 grand. The setup is very little money. You pay somebody to format it, put it together, you upload it. You spend $5,000 on marketing with some ads, possibly. You profit a little bit, but then everybody gets exposure.
Right.
Everybody gets exposure. Everybody wins. And it's an easy win for you because all you're doing is packaging up something that's already been done.
Instead of starting with a blank piece of paper, right? You're starting with something like that.
And that's the hardest part because you've got that. My gosh, you're sitting on a gold mine of books.
Yeah, one of my shows is called Dad Space. It's a podcast for dads by dads, and there's 200 episodes there. And it's all themed around the idea of...
You've got 10 books. You could just put them in the different silos.
Yeah, I started that show because when I was a dad, first-time dad, the doctor said to me before my son was born, if you pass out, there's nobody going to catch you. So there's no one here for you right now. We're here for your wife in this moment. And the idea that there's no one here for you really sunk in the next day when everybody went home. My wife is resting and I'm holding my son going, I feel so inadequate right now. I don't know what I'm doing. I went from being a guy to being a dad overnight. This title's been given to me because now I'm holding my son and there's no one here for you. And I felt, oh my gosh, like I wish there was a bunch of dads right now I could tap into and learn how to do this dad thing. So that's why I created my show. All these amazing dads come on and tell their story and we just celebrate fatherhood, right? That's kind of the idea for that.
Oh, wow. Now, how do you make money with podcasting? I'm curious.
A lot of it comes from my audience right now. I've been approached by a few sponsors. Some of them have been really, really good and we're talking. Some of them have been completely outside of what we do. And I don't know if they would bring value to my audience. So I'm really kind of hesitant on that. But my audience has been very receptive. I just set up a Buy Me a Coffee early on. And I think over the last 7-8 months now, I've had this Buy Me a Coffee. A good chunk of money have come in. And what I like to do, because I have a job at the moment, is I like to reinvest it into people at this point. I'm able to leverage that money and give it back to podcasters. So I want them to see what it's like to have that kind of support built into their podcast. So when somebody comes to me, I help set them up with their show. I help them set up a Buy Me a Coffee, and I like to be their first donation. So it's kind of what I like to do with my money at this point. Down the road, I would definitely like to do this more as a permanent thing for my podcast journey and what I'm doing and who I want to help. But at this point, it's kind of split. But yeah, it's kind of right now. I got one foot on the dock, one foot on the boat.
Yeah, I was just curious because you're quite prolific. You're in the space. You've had 2,000 episodes?
Over 9 podcasts. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That just makes my head. And I was over how many years? 7 years?
It's about 6 now. Yeah, about 6 years total for all of them. Some of them are more recent podcasts. Some are the long-standing shows I've had. Yeah.
And how did you pick, if you don't mind me asking, all these different niches?
Just, it was something that caught my interest in the moment. The Dad podcast. I didn't find a podcast that talked about fatherhood the way I wanted to talk about it or hear about. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to make it then. So I did a quick search. There it is. My author podcast was an idea from another friend who's a publisher in Pittsburgh. He's like, I like what you're doing in these other shows unrelated to authorship. Can you create a podcast for authors? I think we need this. And I'm like, well, I'm not even an author at this moment. I've never written anything. Who would ever come on my show? He's like, I'll send you some guests, but just do it from that lens that you don't know what it's like to be an author, and ask questions in that vein. Instead of having an author host and an author guest, you understand each other. When I'm not an author, I get to represent the audience in that conversation and go, I don't know how to do what you do. Explain that. And my audience just sits up and goes, yeah, I don't know how to do that either. Great. Finally, someone's asking the question, how do I get to work with Mitch? And how does Mitch help me with my books? Right? I want to be the person who asks the question. I don't come with the answers. I come with the questions in that show.
Wow. So, all right. So that's 3 of them. And what are the other? I mean, the one I'm on here.
Yeah.
You got the podcast. You got the book podcast.
I have a podcast that helps podcasters find editors and helps editors find podcasters. Podcast editing and support show. Because there's so much gray area and gray information in between the two, and we don't know how to connect with each other. So that show connects the two, and that's because I'm both, right? So I see it from both sides of the mic, so I can help kind of be the mediator there and help people connect. I have a podcast around a small business my wife and I started years ago, where we repurpose and salvage things from the landfill and turn them into new things. It's called Upcycle Canada. So instead of recycling, we're upcycling. So that's something we're really big into the environment. I have one about side hustles, because everyone had a side hustle during the pandemic. So I have that one as well. It just keeps going on and on from there. I have a children's podcast, counts down to Christmas. It's 25 episodes in a row. A cast of 7 different voiced characters, music, songs, stories, all for children. Even if you don't believe in Christmas, it's the theme is every episode helps children be a better human being. As Santa or whatever is watching you in this holiday season, how to be a good human. And it's just fun. It's just 30 tracks in my audio editing software of all the storytelling happening at once. It's so much fun to do. But yeah, that's another one. All for kids.
Wow. Why are you so lazy?
Why am I so lazy? Man, my wife would say the same. I just love podcasting. Like, I've fallen in love with this thing. And I didn't know, really, Mitch, when I first started podcasting as a listener, if I would enjoy listening to a podcast. Like, 2 guys talking on a podcast, why would I be interested in that? But once I connected with people and heard stories, I'm like, wow, I can take this with me anywhere. I can listen to your show. I can listen to your guests and learn about people I probably would never meet otherwise. So you're kind of like my filter. And I'm trusting Mitch on your show to bring me amazing guests that I want to hear about, right? So I'm coming to your podcast for your guests, but I'm staying because of you. It's really true. I love what you do on your show.
Well, thank you so much. And I have people that would be great guests for you if I could shovel them your way.
Oh, yeah.
Or do you have endless guests?
Well, Podmatch helps a lot. Again, that's how we connected, right? So I do get a lot of great people through Podmatch, and I love what they do. I just had an opportunity to be with Alex and his team to do Podcasting Made Simple in the most recent episodes that just went out. So I did that live event that they do every quarter, and that was so much fun. As a speaker for that, I had so much fun being on that show. But yeah, it's great. I do have a lot of people coming. I'm now on the email list for PR agencies and stuff for the author podcast. That's coming my way. So there's no shortage of guests, but I do want to have the best guests for my audience. That's my main. So yeah, if you have people for me, send them my way. I'd love to.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about podcast hosts who charge to be on their show?
I don't have a problem with that. I I think it's a great way to connect with people. I think it's a way, when you get to 600 plus episodes, it's maybe a way to filter a little bit of some of the noise. The one thing I find a little bit disappointing is, and I don't think guests realize when you hire a PR agency, that as podcasters, we don't get any of the money that you pay your PR agent to get you on our shows. Like, we don't see any of that money. That goes to the PR agent. They set up the meeting, comes right to us, and we interview the guests. Without us as hosts, there would be no PR agents in that funnel, and there would be no shows to put you on. And I find that my guests have no idea that that's even happening. They just assume we're part of the money paid out to that PR.
Well, I spoke to a couple hosts, and they said they want a piece of the pie. Like, they want at least $100 from the PR agencies because they're getting paid. And if they're working with a PR agency and they've vetted the guests and they've got a good one sheet and they're already prepped, that's nice. But why aren't they getting paid? It's not fair.
Right. There's a gap there.
Yeah, because I know that there are a couple podcast guesting services, I mean, quite a few now, and they are charging $500 to $1,000 per placement. Yeah, Podmatch just come in and I think taken their legs out in a lot of cases, a lot of ways that people don't know it, but they still buy into the white glove treatment and having it all set up for them until they may find out otherwise. But I find Podmatch to be great. And some will make the argument, well, the big podcasters, e.g. Amy Porterfield or Mel Robbins, you have to know somebody to get into that show. That's not going to be available on Podmatch.
I'm wondering if a guest pays for a guesting spot as the host, do we owe them anything in addition to a non-paid guesting spot? Like, is there something we should be doing more to help that guest episode do better than if we were getting our guests for free? I don't know if you have any thoughts about anything extra that we should be doing.
Yeah, I have one lady, Stacy Chillemi. I was a guest on her show, and her offer is, I will SEO the show, which everybody does. I will write a press release for the show. I'll write an article about it and upload it to XYZ site.
Yeah.
So you'll get more eyeballs on your interview with me.
Yeah.
And that certainly is an option for some. You can offer additional services and maybe providing them the shorts, but that all benefits you too because you're the host. So I think, the agencies that charge $500 plus, like there's Entrepreneur on Fire, that show from John Lee Dumas, he charges $4,000 to guest. That's I don't know how often he podcasts. I don't know.
That's a substantial audience. That's a name recognition to be saying that you were on his show. So I can see some benefits just from that side that might warrant that. What are your thoughts about disclosing to your audience that you're being paid as the host to have guests on your show? Do you think there's a obligation from our point of view as the host to make that clear to our audience that we are receiving money for this guest?
That I don't know. I don't charge.
Yeah.
I'm flirting with the idea maybe I should charge because this is a lot of work, as you know.
Yeah.
And if someone is on my show which airs on NBC, yes, it's a pay to play.
Yeah.
Because there's editing costs that are a lot more than, I've got to have a recording crew if it's in person and I'm recording. Got to pay for all this. There's the placement. And of course, that's how I make my money. And there's time that you got to train somebody to be effective on camera. There's more involved to be on a TV show than there is on a podcast.
100%.
It's a lot simpler. You can do anytime. You hook it up. Like you said, it could be on your phone.
Yeah.
It can be in any number of ways. So I think it depends. I think if you can disclose that you're making money with this, transparency is good.
Yeah, I think because I think there's rules. I know in the U.S. there's a lot of rules. Canada's a little bit different in kind of the approach to all that, but just kind of the following is a paid blah 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 blah. Those kind of ads you'd see after hours, late at night.
Right.
They look like a TV show, but they're not really. They're kind of a big commercial. That's a disclosure. I don't know if we have to go that far, but
I have to do that for NBC.
Do you? Okay. All right.
Oh yeah, because it's paid programming.
Yeah.
I buy the spots, and it's a production. Yes, that's required.
Yeah, I just think from an audience perspective, does it matter to them, to my listener, if this is a paid or unpaid thing? This isn't paid today, everyone, while you're listening, by the way. But
Sure.
Is it impossible? Is it important for our audience to know that? I don't know, but maybe we just err on the side of being transparent. I don't. That's kind of my default setting. I would probably tell people somehow.
No, that makes sense.
How are you finding guests for your show right now for your podcast?
Podmatch.
That's how you're doing it? Okay, good.
Podmatch is 90% of it. I had used my matchmaker.fm.
Yep.
That yielded a very small percentage. I don't know what else there is besides Podmatch, because I've got more than enough right now.
Yeah.
I'm backlogged for 2 months. Yeah. I mean, for interviews set up, and I'm interviewing people 4 or 5 days a week.
What is your like, how long is it from an episode recording to an episode release, and how do you communicate?
About 2
with your
weeks.
guests? 2 weeks? Okay.
2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
And I'm doing my best to catch up. My focus is I've got about 130 episodes for this podcast recorded. Or no, I've got about 80 recorded that haven't been uploaded yet, because I'm stacking 2 episodes a day. My focus is to get 100 uploaded, because that seems to be the magic number.
Yeah, we talked about that before we record. Yeah, 100.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I pay attention to numbers, and each time I do this, I believe I improve a little bit more, finding more information, getting better at interviewing in a podcast environment. And I think my technical skills are improving, all these little nuances. It's just a matter of doing enough bicep curls to where, okay, my biceps are now starting to look like I work out.
Yeah.
And I believe it's a process. I suspect, with all the interviews you've done, and probably as a guest, you're vastly superior today than you were when you began.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And it's putting in the reps, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And that moment where your guest looks straight in the camera and goes, no one has ever asked me that before. They're like, oh my gosh. And they're like, we'll stop the recording, and they're like, who sent you that question? Like, how did you know that? Like, did my team send you an email? How did you know to ask me that?
The intuitiveness gets pushes through.
I show them my sheet. I have no questions. Right now, Mitch, I have 0 in front of me right now. I just talking to you, right? It's just being a curious person, listening to your guest, are some of the things I really try to encourage podcast hosts to tap into. It takes practice to do that. You won't do it in the first 10 episodes. It's going to take a while to kind of get up to speed.
Absolutely.
I'm curious from your perspective, Mitch. If you had a chance to sit down with a new podcaster who wants to host interviews, what are some of your top things that you would say are super important a muscle to work on for that host?
A couple of things that I prepare people for mentally, and I have trained people how to be TV hosts as well, and to be effective on camera. Many of the skills are transferable. Many. Do some background check on your host or on your guest. Read about their LinkedIn. Go to their YouTube channel. Get familiar. Know them before you meet them. Know them. Then trust your gut. I'm a big fan of being unscripted, just like you.
Yeah.
I think that's an advanced skill. Not everybody can do that right out of the gate. I think it takes time to build up that competency. And trust yourself. Use the questions as a guide, but don't follow them, because you're going to sound like AI. And you don't want to sound like AI.
Right.
You're just a human talking to another human. And I believe in preparing mentally, doing your homework, meditating beforehand, and or breathing.
Yeah.
I believe in breathing from your diaphragm and getting ready. Prepare. Preparation leads to a better product. That's some of it.
Do you do?
And you will get better. You will get better.
Do you do a pre-chat with your guests before you hit the mic and turn on and start recording?
Yes.
How do you do that?
Yes. Okay. Just like we did it.
Okay.
Just like we did it. Very similar.
Okay.
Chatted for a little bit until you felt, okay, you intuitively knew. I think we both arrived. All right, let's hit the record. Mm-hmm. We were there.
Right.
But to just hit the record right out of the gate, no. I've had that happen to me where I've been a guest and someone hits the record and they just ramble. They literally, one person read the questions, looking at a sheet, and then looked up, waited the response, read the sheet, looked up and read and listened to what I said, and went one to the next, just like a robot.
Yeah.
He was horrible.
I remember listening to a podcast and the interviewer asked a guest a question, and near the end of the answer, when the guest was talking, the guest said something like, "Oh, and that's also the day that I almost died because my car went off the cliff." Without a hesitation, question number 2. They went right to the next question. They didn't even acknowledge what just happened. And as a listener, I was so frustrated. I'm like, wait a minute. What? You're going to let that one pass? Come on.
Weren't paying attention.
No.
Too focused on the next question.
Do you think it might be nerves, maybe, for the host a little bit at the beginning?
The
possibly?
nerves, inexperience, and listening skills. You identified it. You wanted to hear, Mal, that's a rabbit hole. We should go down a little bit.
Come on. Yeah, right.
You were humans.
Yeah.
Was not listening. Was too worried and insecure about asking the next question because that was the roadmap that was laid out. Did not have the experience as a host.
What skills did you bring from being live selling on TV in front of millions of people? What's transferable from that environment to what you're doing today on your podcast specifically and your television stuff that you're doing as well? What did you bring with you from that? Because that's got to be really nerve-wracking.
That's a great question.
That many people are looking at you at this moment.
Given that I conquered that platform,
that's amazing.
Meaning I became comfortable. When I say conquered, maybe a little strong. I became much more comfortable in that platform. Everything after that is easy. So I've already been at the highest level. That was the Super Bowl of selling. Super Bowl of pitching. You cannot screw up because you're on live TV. Podcasting, then I went to radio. I had a radio show in LA, very similar. It's podcasting, but it's timed. It's in a time frame versus recording, broadcasting later. Podcasting is by far the easiest because you can always edit later. It's the most comfortable as well. I don't feel the pressure of having to perform. Radio got to perform because you only have that hour segment. And you got to allow for commercials to come in when I had the show. TV, you are a 100%. That's acting. That's performance, baby. It's not relaxed. It's performance. I'm relaxed with a podcast. I don't feel like I'm performing. It's a conversation. So it is by far the most relaxed, and I think it's the most authentic. Because when I was on, or still am, when I'm on TV, I go up 20%. In terms of my energy level, speak faster. I turn the dial. Absolutely. I'm relaxed talking to you. We're just having a conversation. On TV, it's a lot more structured, and I know my confines, and I'm aware of the time. I have to be. I have to be aware of my time because I need to get in what content needs to be covered in those 28 and a half minutes because there are bumpers front and back, which take up a minute and a half.
I find when I have guests on my show that have media training, whether they've been in Hollywood or acting or TV, they talk in short little sound bites. And they're really, really quick. They're like, and as soon as they come on a podcast, you can see their shoulders drop a little bit. And they get to elaborate on a story they haven't been able to tell in full detail. I had Adam Nimoy on my show. His dad's Leonard Nimoy from Star Trek. And he wrote a book about his dad. And the one thing I did, talk about research, is I went and heard him on all these other shows, and everybody asked him about his dad.
Of course. He's Spock. Yeah, he was an icon.
But I found nobody really talked to Adam about Adam. And I'm like, well, I want to focus in on Adam. So I know that he was on Big Bang Theory. So I talked about that because he was he was guested on there for an episode. I know that he loves music and he plays guitar, and that his son plays in one of his favorite bands. And I'm like, and he's now a guitar player in that band. So I knew that music was really important to him and that he was on that show. And the look on his face when these questions came his way that weren't another question about his dad that he's been asked 100 times. Look on his face was like, you could see him just like warm up in the interview to be like, I'm having a good time talking about these things. And I'm a little bit kind of caught off guard because here's somebody famous in my mind that I'm so happy to have on my show, but this is a human being sitting in front of me who's been interviewed a bazillion times. And how can I make this stand out for him and honor him in the moment? And I think that's something we can do as hosts, is really honor our guests. And if you know they've been asked that question 100 times, there's no need to ask it again. Try to find something different, something a little bit more unique, and do your research on that guest so that they feel honored on the show. I think that's one thing we can do a little differently as podcasters. I don't know. What's your thought on that? Interviewing people who are kind of maybe a bigger name that have been interviewed 1,000 times?
As far as I know, they have to sit on the same toilet that you and I do.
Yes.
They
Right.
put their pants on one leg at a time,
Right.
as we do.
Exactly.
I'm not intimidated by celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up around them and knew a lot of them. And you're a Canadian. Once upon a time, I worked around a bunch of former hockey players, and two of them that I worked with were Stanley Cup ring holders.
There you go.
Yeah, and the people were starstruck by them. But to me, they were just guys that I worked with.
Mm-hmm.
In the brokerage business. They were Canadian guys. One was with the Montreal Canadiens, and another, they were both former Canadians, and they had Stanley Cup rings.
Yeah.
And they were just regular guys. And
Right.
I realized, they sit on the same toilet. Yeah. Eat lunch at the same place I do and they do. They're just people.
Yeah.
I think you identified that. You talked to Adam, I
Yeah.
guess his name was.
Yeah.
He's just a guy. And he's got a famous father. So what?
Yeah.
That's been overshadowing, I'm sure. He's just a human being who plays guitar. He's a regular guy. I worked out, I'll tell you, probably the biggest celebrity father, and then I knew his son quite well because we worked out at the same taekwondo school for several years, was Ron Reagan Jr.
Wow.
Ron Reagan was his father, who was the former two-time president of the United States.
Yeah.
And his son couldn't have been a nicer guy. Ron Reagan is a junior, and he was a solid martial artist. He was good. He was a ballet dancer, and he rebelled against some of the expectations, I would imagine, of his mother and father, as many people do in their youth. But he was a great guy, and he made no bones about him being the son of the president. His father was in office at that time when he was working out there, and the Secret Service was outside, and it was, it was pretty serious. But he was just a regular guy and humble.
Yeah.
I will say that about him. And this is, gosh, how many years ago? About 40 years ago, I knew Ron Jr. And that didn't affect anybody else's relationship with him because he was Ron Jr., who was just a person with the same name as the president of the United States at the time.
Amazing. Yeah. Treat your guests with care and respect and honor them. Show up with your information. Do some background work on them. We talked a little bit about what some of the best hosting tips were. Before we go, Mitch, can you give me a couple memorable guests and something about them that was memorable beyond their name? What type of guests you like to have on your show? What makes a great guest on your podcast?
That's you're clearly an expert about this topic. Memorable guests were people who showed up on time, were respectful, allowed each other to share, and most of whom were authors. It seems that I draw a lot of authors, experts, CEOs. I don't think I'm going to bring in Joe the plumber. So I haven't had that. It's rarely a tradesperson unless they're an author and they're breaking into the entrepreneurial space. Most are entrepreneurs or executives. And the memorable ones are the ones that provide the most value that I've taken notes on.
Yeah.
Earlier today, I've got several from you,
That's nice.
but there are, several gems. And the way you ask questions, because I'm going to go back and review this later once I have the recording available. The best guests, in my opinion, are the most relaxed and are there to give and aren't too self-promoting. I think it's important to talk about, okay, what's your gift for the audience? Sure, you can do that. This is about one-to-one relationship. When I went into being a guest in the beginning in my own journey, I was after, how am I going to make money with this? Mm-hmm. Now it's, how am I going to build a relationship with Dave such that he'll think of me when the time arises where they'll need my services.
Right.
Someone will need the services that I'll make available to you. It's not here to push on you. Who do you know who would like to be on television? Who do you know who wants to be a best-selling author? I don't teach people how to write books, but I make them bestsellers guaranteed. Mm-hmm. And when that comes up in your travel, oh, I had this guest named Mitch. Yeah. So I think a relationship, liking somebody, having a relationship with this person is paramount to making it transactional. Those are the best guests. I hope that was a more involved answer.
That was really
what
good.
You.
No.
Yeah.
Really good. I think that's a great spot to end off too, Mitch. I really appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit again about your show before we go, because I want everybody to go listen to your podcast because it's amazing. And then kind of some connection points for us as listeners. We've got authors listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I got to talk to this Mitch guy. How do I do that? All that stuff. Can you tell us a little bit before we head out the door?
Yeah. Go to getinterviewedguaranteed.com. It's very simple. It's a good one. Want to get interviewed on TV? Go to getinterviewedguaranteed.com and you'll see the packages that are available where we guarantee. We're quite transparent. I guarantee television, unlike other publicists, will bind you to a contract. There are no contracts. It is all done in a few days where I'll get you on 4 network television shows. That's my shameless pitch. And for some cases, if authors want to make more sales and become international bestsellers, I provide that service. I can get people guaranteed bestseller status in 2 countries.
And your podcast too, Mitch.
Yes, the Amazing Authorities podcast, where I've got to have you as a guest.
Oh, gee,
in the future.
I'd love to come on. Yeah. As a fan of the show, that would be an honor to become on your show. Yeah.
Yes, my pleasure. I mean, that goes without saying.
Excellent.
So I appreciate our time together, Dave. This has been illuminating, and you are truly a pro.
Excellent, everyone. If you're interested in having Mitch on your show, I'll put his Podmatch profile on here as well, so you can go check him out on Podmatch and see his guest profile. He's an amazing person to talk to and somebody you need in your world. So if you can have a few moments with this gentleman on your screen, you're going to have a great time. Mitch, again, thank you so much for saying yes to coming on to this podcast, and I'm looking forward to many more conversations in the future, Mitch, with you.
Likewise, Dave. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks for being here. Thank you for listening to the end of the podcast. You're here with me. I'm so grateful. I want to put something in front of you. For the person that's listened this far, you're my new best friend. So what I'm trying to do every month is I have a goal, and you can help me with this goal. Very simple. What I'm trying to do is have 5 conversations this month with listeners of the How to Podcast series. You don't have to have a podcast to respond. This can be the first time ever that we're going to have a conversation, but I'm looking to talk to 5 people. Now, you're still here, so you're one of the people that I would love to talk to next. So on my howtopodcast.ca website is a calendar, and I'd love to have you respond on howtopodcast.ca. Just click the calendar link, set up time in my calendar, and in the comments section for the meeting, just put something like listener. That's it. If you have a show, put it in the comments too so I can go listen. But if you don't, I just want to talk to 5 listeners every month from now to the end of the month. So if you're listening to me right now, you're the person I want to talk to. And through howtopodcast.ca, you and I can get together, chat about the show, chat about your journey as a podcaster. Where are you at? What do you need the show to become for you? What's missing? Your feedback. I just want to meet you. And as podcasters, I would encourage you to do something similar to this in your podcast so that you can meet and interact with your audience. So howtopodcast.ca, I'm looking to talk to 5 people every month, and I would love for you to be one of them. Reach out. It's free. I'm not selling you anything. I just want to talk to you at howtopodcast.ca. Let's get in the calendar and chat. Thanks for listening.